Guys, Dan Hendriksen here. We're at Torquay Golf Club. We're in the studio today and we're going to do a little video that's going to hopefully help you with controlling ball flight with your irons. Now, I've brought Lester in because he's pretty good at being able to control his ball flight. We're going to have a little hit of a few shots, have a look at the numbers and share with you what we're up to, what we're thinking when we're trying to hit different types of ball flights. Let's find Lester.
Found him.
Alright, wasn't hard to find, was it? I was stood next to him.
Right, normal ball flight to get us going with. So we're going to share with you kind of where I set the ball up in what ball position I have, and then kind of what I'm feeling when I'm going through the actual golf swing itself, how I'm sort of transferring my weight, those little things that might be able to help you. So as a reference point for me, I'm always sort of working from my sternum position down from here. I kind of ignore my feet because sometimes my feet kind of flare out a little bit. If you're going to work off your feet, try and work off the back heels, not the toes of your feet. So sternum point here, and with a 7-iron to start us off with, my ball position with a 7-iron is about an inch, maybe a ball slightly further forward of where my sternum point is, so my center point of my body. Then from there, all I'm thinking about is a normal golf swing, so I'm just going to feel like I can chase it through, just hitting my normal stock shot, which is just that little draw down the right hand side and draw it back. So if I want to try and hit the ball just that little bit higher, so if I want to get an instant bit of launch and maybe drop that ball to stop a bit quicker on the greens, I'm going to change the way in which I set up to the golf ball. So still working on the reference point from my sternum position down, I then move my ball position just a fraction further forward. So if I look at it now, again, depending on the height that you want to create, but for this shot I want to get some very good height and get it to stop quite quickly, my ball position now moves a further ball further forward. So at this point now it's probably 2 balls forward of my sternum point, which is the center point down here. If you look down there, you probably see it as maybe 2 inches or 2.5 inches further forward towards my left foot. The next point that I'm thinking about doing is I just want to sort of lower my right shoulder a fraction, not too much. I don't want to be sort of back here trying to scoop it up in the air. I'm just going to feel like my right shoulder just drops maybe like an inch further down to my right side. So I'm using my shoulders more as a sort of a launch pad, trying to launch it up into the air. So once I've got myself into this position, I don't want to feel like now I'm going to try and lift it in the air. I don't want to feel like I'm falling backwards as I hit this shot. I'm still going to transfer my weight as I normally would. Now, being set up a little bit further behind, don't get the feeling of trying to chase it harder. Just try and get the feeling that you're going to hit a normal golf shot, and that will naturally pick that ball up a little bit quicker for you. So now on to the low shot, and again focusing on the center point, so my sternum point. I'm now going to drift that golf ball more towards the center of my stance. If anything, half a ball further back towards my right foot. So I don't want to see, I'm not going to try and hit this too low, so I'm not trying to put it right off the back foot. If you wanted to hit it that much lower, you could do that. But all I'm trying to think about is sternum point down, and then move my ball position just like half an inch to a half a ball further back in my stance from the center point. That's going to be a good 1.5 to 2 inches further back from my normal natural position. So when I move into the higher shot, you saw me kind of tilt my right shoulder back. In this situation, I'm going to try and keep myself more in a neutral position, but all I'm going to think about doing is now pressing just a little bit into my left leg. So I'm going to feel that probably, whereas I would normally be sort of 50-50 with my weight distribution right to left leg, I'm going to feel now that I'm probably like 70-30 or 60-40, depending on what type of how low you want to kind of hit it. But trying to keep my weight a little bit on my left side will naturally bring my shoulders a little bit squarer for me, rather than the high shot where it tilts right back. And then again from here, I want to maintain that weight on my left side throughout the swing. I don't want to feel like I'm moving off the ball back. I'm just going to try and maintain it on my left leg as I swing through, and then as I come through it's going to be a natural turn through the shot. I don't want to feel like I'm really shifting left over to the left hand side of the golf ball. So keeping that weight nice and on the left side, swing the arms back, still normal turn, and then swing through. Right, so that's how I would do it.
Yep.
Is yours similar to that, or do you differ from?
I mean,
from
very
those?
similar. I've maybe got a few different quirks, but you're a lot more technical than what I am. So mine tends to be, I tend to play golf more on feel rather than numbers and dry ball data.
Yeah.
So maybe I do a few things differently.
Okay, well let's look at it. We will look at the numbers because I'm going to gather the data as well. So we'll look at how ours maybe differ slightly from your fields to my fields, and see what the numbers do.
Yeah. So on a normal shot, ball position very similar to what Dan is, just forward of centre. My stance is slightly wider and both of my feet are slightly more turned out.
Do you focus on your sternum point, or are you focusing on your feet?
No, I'm focusing completely on my feet.
And are you focusing on the toes, or are you focusing on the heels?
Just focusing. It's almost because I've done it for so long. I'm just naturally stood into that position. I know that that is more or less just forward of centre. So my centre point will probably be, I would say, oh, hit the ball. My centre point will probably be about here. So I'm probably a ball and a half forward of centre. Similar when I set my driver up, I just step with my right foot. So it's more or less, it's just, I don't think about that too much.
Okay.
So yeah, so just step in there, feet slightly further apart, and just a normal swing, so I'll just be trying to hit it.
Good strike, sounded great.
Yeah. So for me, hitting a higher ball, all I would do is shift my ball position further forward, almost into sort of a fairway position.
What, fairway wood position?
Fairway wood position.
Okay, and where's that in relation to your?
So it's going to be.
It's just literally.
Yeah,
it's I would say it's half probably a ball.
Yeah, is it?
What do you think that is? About a ball? Maybe it's two balls. It's two balls forward of back of your front foot, isn't it?
I will as well, to just increase dynamic loft impact, I will leave my handle slightly behind.
Oh, do you? So you
so
do use.
I'm gonna actually add loft to the club by, instead of having my handle almost parallel slightly in front, I'm going to lean it back just to increase height.
That's cool.
And then just feel like I'm almost behind it as I'm hitting it, almost like a driver swing.
So you don't set up and feel that you're going to be more this way like I was. No. You just try and lean the handle back and then naturally feel like you're staying behind it.
Behind it, yeah.
Okay, good.
So,
okay, got the height there.
So for a lower shot, I'm going to move my ball position again from one extreme to the other. Instead of being the high one forward, this is going to be a ball position, two balls back towards my right side, handle length forward.
And how does that compare? Just a quick one on your ball position. How does that compare to your normal position? Where would you be with a normal shot?
Well, normal shot would be in here, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
so
and then going back. Okay,
good. In here.
So it's a good ball and a half, isn't it?
Yeah, hands forward.
Yeah.
And then, like what you said, I feel like I'm going to lean onto my left side.
And do you do that as setup, or do you do that?
I do that as setup.
At impact.
Setup, so it's going to obviously steepen my angle of attack.
Okay.
So my initial flight should be lower and then slightly rising.
Okay.
But the one difference I'm going to do to what you did is I'm actually almost going to sort of hold my follow through.
So you're going to hold the finish.
I'm going to hold my finish to keep that ball down, because I think as soon as I come up here, I'm going to increase height and lift.
Loft, you're going to use.
Yeah, so I'm always going to.
Loft.
Yeah, I'm always going to hold it off. To keep
hold it off. So like a shortened finish.
Shortened finish, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Let's look at the numbers that we're getting from the different shots that we're hitting and see if there's any consistencies with what you're doing and what I'm doing in the ways in which we play it. So if we look at height, let's go with peak height, which is basically running all the way down here. This is my normal shot at 33 yards high.
Yep.
Your normal shot is 39 yards high.
Yeah.
Okay?
You see that on the golf course.
You see that on the golf course, yeah. And we'll look at why that's happening in just a moment, because I've got an answer for that. But if I hit a high one, I raise it up to 38 yards high. So I've raised it 5 yards. If you hit a high one, you raise it to 41 yards high.
Yeah.
So you're delivering 2 extra yards high. I'm delivering 5 extra yards high. If we then go to the low one, I'm then 25 yards high, and you're 27 yards high. So you're naturally a little bit higher than me in kind of all departments there, aren't you? Show me the low shot then. So
Okay.
show me some common faults that you see.
Yeah, I mean,
majority of the time with the low shot.
The main fault you see when you need to teach when people are trying to hit lower, they would go too extreme, so they'd be in here. You know, that is not delivering enough loft. The handle's way too far forward.
Yeah.
The angle of attack is going to be so steep. You're just going to create massive problems. Why? Unless you're a pure striker, you're going to hit the ground heavy.
Yeah.
Which is going to create a massive divot. The ball's going to come up to the face, up
yeah,
higher in the face.
A really weak spot.
Which
so it kills it. No spin, really weak spot in the actual club face.
So yeah, so that's what they think they're going to do. But we've just seen by what me and Dan have done. We've only manipulated it slightly, changed a few things, and it's made such a difference to ball flight.
Yeah.
So you don't need to go from one extreme to the other. It's just those variables, just altering them fractionally.
So the other thing that I see when players are trying to hit it lower is they go at it even harder. So they really hit at it hard. And the problem with that is, especially if you're into wind, in this shot we're not really talking about wind, but for into wind shots, if you go at it harder, you're going to increase the speed, which then potentially is going to increase the spin on the golf ball, which will then start to see it revving up. For me, when I'm playing into wind and I want to keep it down, I will take speed off, so I will swing at it a little bit smoother.
That will also help with the centre of strike.
Yeah.
So for a higher handicapper, he wants to obviously strike the middle of the club,
Yeah.
or as centre as possible. So slowing it down, because you're changing so many variables, will actually help with consistency.
Absolutely right. So the main faults that I kind of see when I'm seeing players that hit higher shots is, number one, they put the ball position way too far forward. They get it right off the front foot, which, to be honest with you, you don't need to be that extreme unless you have an extreme situation. And if you've got that type of extreme situation, just get a club with a bit more loft. It might help you out, and just accept that you're not going to get it as far down there. So you don't need to push that ball position too far forward. If it goes too far forward, the tendency is you're going to catch it a little bit thin on the way through, and actually what happens is that thin shot actually comes out lower and you don't get the required height that you're kind of looking for. The other thing that I see is when players go to hit their shot, they tend to want to help it up a little bit more by leaning back on the shot. So really sort of no weight transfer into the shot, so their strike performance really struggles as well. So the right shoulder just drops, they sort of lose a lot of height, and then they bottom out about a couple of inches before the ball, and then again they tend to thin it on the way up as they come through, or worst case they fat it as they kind of come through. And then the last one that I see is just that feeling of almost flicking the ball. So you see that sort of lifting of the arms kind of collapsing and the hands flicking over as it kind of comes through there. Again, all this is resulting in you tending to thin the ball, which then comes out lower. I'm always keen to make sure the strike is good. You've got to make sure you strike it properly, and then it can maintain that good loft and get the ball up as quickly as possible. So there you go, there's a little insight into what Lester and I do when it comes to hitting different types of trajectories. I'd like to hear what you do as well. Do you do something different to what we're doing? Put your comments down below. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you ring the bell, you'll get lots of new notifications of all the videos that we keep putting out, which is daily at the moment. So ring that bell as well. Give us a thumbs up if you like what you're seeing, and we'll look forward to catching up with you again soon.